The unexpected encounter. The recyclers groaned again. Elise wiped sweat from her brow and cursed under her breath. Outpost Helios wasn't exactly the crown jewel of human expansion, but its decrepit system seemed determined to make it even less hospitable. Rain hammered against the reinforced windows, the planet's frequent storms more aggressive than usual tonight. Status report, she muttered to herself, scanning the flickering holodisplay. The atmospheric processors were running at 70%, not great, but not catastrophic. Just another day at humanity's forgotten frontier. Elise had volunteered for this assignment 6 months ago. Remote ecological monitoring on a barely terraformed moon orbiting a gas giant wasn't exactly a sought-after position, but after everything that had happened on Earth, the isolation felt like a blessing. Only 12 other researchers occupied the sprawling facility, each as content with solitude as she was. The storm intensified, wind howling against the station's outer shell. Lightning crackled, illuminating the barren landscape outside her window, rocky terrain dotted with the first generation of Earth plants struggling to take root in alien soil. A warning light flashed on her console. Perimeter breach in Sector 7, announced the station's AI in its perpetually calm voice. Elise frowned. Sector 7 housed the auxiliary landing pad, rarely used except for emergency situations. Pull up external cameras, she commanded. The screen filled with static before clearing to reveal the rain-lashed landing pad. Through the downpour, Elise could make out a shape, not a shuttlecraft or any human vessel she recognized. It appeared almost crystalline, catching the lightning flashes in prismatic refractions. Protocol dictated she alert Security Officer Valdez, but curiosity stayed her hand. Nothing in their briefings had mentioned first contact protocols. Then again, nothing had mentioned the possibility of visitors at all. The external door to the landing pad slid open. Elisa's breath caught as a figure stepped through, humanoid but unmistakably not human. Tall and slender, with skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner luminescence. Its movements were liquid grace, unaffected by gravity's constraints. Elise reached for the communication panel, then hesitated. The being paused, tilting its head as if sensing her observation. It raised a hand toward the camera, and the feed abruptly cut to static. Well, that's not concerning at all, Elise muttered, grabbing her utility belt and a portable scanner. Protocol be damned, this was more interesting than anything that had happened since she'd arrived. The corridors were eerily quiet as she made her way toward Sector 7. The storm's fury rattled the station's infrastructure, masking her footsteps. The emergency lighting cast everything in a dim blue glow. She found the visitor standing motionless in the decontamination chamber, seemingly fascinated by the water dripping from its form. Up close, Elise could see that what she'd mistaken for clothing was actually part of the being, semi-transparent membranes that shifted and flowed around a humanoid core. Its eyes found hers, neither pupils nor irises, just pools of silver that seemed to ripple like mercury. It made no move to approach or retreat, simply observing. "Hello," Elise said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm Station Engineer Elise Novak. Welcome to Outpost Helios." The being tilted its head again, a gesture almost bird-like in its precision. When it spoke, the sound bypassed her ears entirely, resonating directly in her mind. "You have water falling from your sky." Elise blinked. "Yes. We call it rain. It's part of the terraforming process." The being extended a hand, catching droplets that still clung to the chamber walls. "It weeps. Your sky weeps." "It's just condensation," Elise explained. "Water vapor in the atmosphere cooling in. Is the sky crying for you?" The question caught her off guard. "What? No. It's just atmospheric science." The being absorbed the water through its skin, the liquid disappearing into its shimmering surface. "On my world, water is sacred. It carries memory, emotion, purpose. And on this world, it just gets everything wet," Elise said, attempting levity despite her racing heart. "Do you have a name?" Something I can call you? The being made a sound like crystal chimes. In your sounds, perhaps. Nyara. Nyara, Elise repeated. Why are you here? I followed the sorrow. The sorrow? Your world broadcasts it. Even across the void, we heard it calling. Elise's scientific mind struggled to process this. Are you saying you detected emotional signals from our planet? That's not possible. Yet here I stand. The station's alarms suddenly blared to life. Security protocols had finally registered the unauthorized visitor. Red lights pulsed along the corridor as heavy doors began to seal. We need to move, Elise said urgently. They'll lock this section down. Nyara didn't react to her alarm. Why do you fear connection? I don't fear, Elise began, then stopped as footsteps echoed from the adjacent corridor. Look, questions later. Come with me if you want to avoid being quarantined. She led Nyara through a maintenance access tunnel, bypassing the main corridors where security would be searching. The alien moved silently behind her, occasionally touching the walls as if reading something through the metal and plastic. They reached Elise's private quarters, a small space filled with monitoring equipment and personal research projects. Plants from Earth grew under specialized lights, her small act of rebellion against the sterile station environment. You should be safe here until I can explain to the others, Elise said, sealing the door behind them. Nyara moved toward the plants, fingers hovering just above the leaves. You brought life with you. Just some reminders of home. Yet you left that home behind. It wasn't a question. Elise turned away, occupying herself with checking the security feeds on her terminal. Earth has enough problems without me adding to them. You carry your world's pain like water carries salt, Nyara observed. It dissolves slowly, changing everything it touches. That's surprisingly poetic for someone who just crash-landed on a strange planet, Elise muttered. Communication is pattern, Nyara replied. I learn your patterns quickly. Your language is simple. Your emotions are complex. The alien approached one of the small windows where raindrops continued to stream down the transparent surface. With one fluid motion, Nyara pressed a hand against the glass. The raindrops on the other side began to move against gravity, swirling into patterns that resembled script. How are you doing that? Elise whispered, transfixed. Water remembers. It responds to intention. The comm unit on Elise's desk chirped. Engineer Novak, this is Security Chief Valdez. We have reports of an unauthorized entry. All personnel are to remain in their quarters during sweep operations. Elise glanced at Nyara, who had turned from the window to study her. Those mercurial eyes seemed to peer through flesh and bone, seeing something Elise herself couldn't perceive. Acknowledged, Chief, she responded. I'm running diagnostics on my section. The storm is playing havoc with the sensors. A pause. Understood. Report any anomalies immediately. The connection clicked off. Elise exhaled slowly. You protected me, Nyara observed. Why? Good question, Elise admitted. Maybe because you're the most interesting thing that's happened here in months. Or maybe because you didn't seem threatening. Many dangerous things do not seem threatening. Is that a warning? Nyara's expression shifted subtly, the closest thing to a smile its features could manage. An observation. I am not dangerous to you. But there are dangerous things seeking me. The implications of that statement hung in the air between them. Outside, lightning flashed again, briefly illuminating the room in stark contrast. In that moment, Elise saw something else, a shadow pattern behind Nyara, like wings or tendrils stretching from its form. What are you running from? Elise asked quietly. Not running. Searching. Nyara moved closer, its shimmering form catching the blue emergency lights. For solutions. For understanding. For why your species broadcasts such beautiful sorrow while destroying the very world that sustains you. That's a complicated question with no simple answer. Yet you left. You came here. Was that your answer? Elise turned away again, uncomfortable with the perception in those alien eyes. Maybe I just needed space to breathe. Space has no breath, Nyara responded, literal yet somehow understanding the metaphor. But I comprehend isolation as refuge. The storm outside intensified, the rain now coming horizontally against the window. Nyara returned to it, fascinated by the elemental display. On my world, such water would be collected. Honored. Each drop contains stories. And what stories do these drops tell? Elise asked, half-humoring the alien's perspective. Nyara placed its hand against the glass once more. They speak of a planet struggling to become what it was not meant to be. Of humans imposing will upon nature. Of loneliness in the midst of creation. Despite herself, Elise moved closer. And what do you hear in the rain, Nyara? The alien turned those silver eyes toward her. I hear possibility. Connection. The beginning of something unexpected. For the first time in months, Elise felt something stir within her chest, curiosity, perhaps. Or hope. Outside, the rain continued its relentless descent, a million liquid voices speaking in a language she was only beginning to understand. Echoes between worlds. Dawn broke reluctantly over outpost Helios, the storm clouds parting just enough to allow streaks of golden light across the scarred landscape. Elise watched from her window as puddles reflected the alien sky, each a miniature mirror of a world in transition. Nyara stood behind her, studying the primitive earth plants with careful attention. During the night, the alien had remained motionless for hours, entering what it called a resonant state, not sleep, but something like meditation that allowed it to process and align with the energies of this new world. The security sweep is complete, Elise said, checking her terminal. They found nothing, which means your ship must have some kind of cloaking technology. Not technology as you understand it, Nyara responded. Intention made manifest. My vessel is an extension of myself. Elise shook her head. Every answer from the alien seemed designed to challenge her understanding of physics. We should talk about what happens next. I can't keep you hidden forever. Why would you need to hide me? Because humans tend to react poorly to the unknown. Especially those in positions of authority. Nyara tilted its head, those silver eyes reflecting the morning light. Your species fears what it cannot control. Wouldn't yours? Elise countered. We fear what we cannot understand. Different. A notification flashed on Elise's terminal, a station-wide meeting called for 0900 hours. Undoubtedly to discuss the mysterious sensor anomalies from the previous night. I need to attend this, she said, gesturing to the screen. Will you be safe here alone? I am never alone, Nyara replied cryptically. But I will remain undetected. The meeting room was tense when Elise arrived. Security Chief Valdez stood at the front, his weathered face set in grim lines as he addressed the gathered personnel. At approximately 2100 hours last night, our perimeter sensors detected an anomaly coinciding with the storm front. Initial scans suggested possible meteorological interference, but subsequent analysis indicates something more concerning. He activated the central display, showing the fragmented sensor data. These energy signatures don't match any known natural phenomenon. We're dealing with either equipment malfunction on an unprecedented scale, or what? Asked Dr. Rivera, the station's lead biologist. You're not suggesting visitors? Valdez's expression remained neutral. I'm not suggesting anything yet. But I've implemented increased security protocols until we determine the cause. Elise kept her face carefully blank, though her heart hammered against her ribs. She felt a strange sensation, like fingertips brushing against her thoughts. Nyara, somehow reaching out across the distance. Engineer Novak, Valdez said suddenly. Your sector registered the highest anomaly readings. Did you observe anything unusual during the storm? All eyes turned to her. The phantom touch in her mind intensified, not controlling but supporting, a presence standing beside her even in absence. Nothing conclusive, she answered, surprising herself with her steady voice. The atmospheric processors were struggling with the storm's intensity. It may have created feedback in the sensor array. Valdez studied her for a moment longer than necessary. Run a full diagnostic on your section today. I want those sensors thoroughly checked. Yes, sir. The meeting continued, discussing resource allocation and upcoming supply shipments. Elise barely listened, her thoughts returning to the alien waiting in her quarters. What would happen if she simply told the truth? Part of her wanted to trust in humanity's better nature, but experience had taught her caution. When she returned to her quarters, she found them empty. Panic flared briefly until a shimmer of movement caught her eye. Nyara had somehow altered its form to blend with the wall, becoming nearly transparent. That's a useful trick, Elise remarked as the alien resumed its normal appearance. Adaptation preserves life, Nyara replied. Your meeting was concerning. You could sense that from here. Distance is less absolute than humans believe. We're connected through intention now. Elise frowned. I never agreed to any connection. The offering and acceptance of water formed the bond. It is our way. When you drank the rainwater. Nyara made that crystalline sound again, its version of laughter. When you sheltered me from the storm. Water is metaphor and reality both. Before Elise could respond, her terminal chimed with an alert. Someone was approaching her quarters. She motioned urgently to Nyara, who once again faded into near invisibility against the far wall. The door slid open to reveal Dr. Rivera, carrying a sample case. The biologist entered without waiting for invitation, her sharp eyes scanning the room. Elise, I need your input on something, she said, placing the case on the desk. These soil samples from Sector 7 are showing unusual molecular activity. Almost as if the water molecules have been reorganized. Reorganized how? Elise asked, careful to keep her eyes from straying to where Nyara concealed itself. Rivera opened the case, revealing several sealed vials of mud. The hydrogen bonds have adopted configurations I've never seen before. They're forming complex lattices that shouldn't be stable, yet somehow are. From the corner of her eye, Elise saw a slight movement. Nyara was interested in the samples. Could it be from the terraforming process? Elise suggested. Some interaction with the native minerals we haven't catalogued yet. Possibly, but, Rivera stopped, her attention caught by something on Elise's window. The raindrops still visible there had begun to move, forming patterns similar to what Nyara had created the night before. What is that? The biologist asked, moving closer to the glass. Before Elise could formulate an explanation, Nyara stepped away from the wall, its camouflage dissolving. The water speaks, it said, its mental voice resonating in both women's minds. Rivera froze, her scientific composure momentarily shattered. What, who are you? Dr. Rivera, meet Nyara, Elise said, resignation in her voice. Our visitor from last night. To the biologist's credit, after her initial shock, curiosity quickly replaced fear. Fascinating, she breathed, studying the alien's shimmering form. You're not corporeal, are you? Not entirely. I exist between states, Nyara replied. As do all living things, though most lack awareness of this truth. You were affecting my samples, Rivera said, understanding dawning. You can manipulate water at the molecular level. All elements respond to consciousness. Water simply remembers best. For the next hour, Rivera bombarded Nyara with questions, her scientific mind trying to frame the alien's abilities within understandable parameters. Elise watched this exchange with growing concern. We can't tell Valdez, she finally interrupted. Not yet. Rivera looked up from her notes, conflicted. Elise, this is exactly why we're out here, to discover new life, new possibilities. This changes everything we thought we knew about interspecies communication. And how do you think Earth will respond? Elise challenged. They'll want to weaponize Nyara's abilities. Study them. Control them. She speaks truth, Nyara confirmed. I have seen your kind's thoughts. The hunger for power overwhelms the thirst for understanding. Rivera's enthusiasm dimmed. Not all humans think that way. No, Elise agreed. But those who don't rarely make the decisions. The biologist was silent for a long moment, then nodded reluctantly. What do you propose then? Before Elise could answer, the lights in her quarters flickered, then dimmed completely. Emergency power activated seconds later, casting everything in that familiar blue glow. What was that? Rivera asked. Elise checked her terminal, but it remained dark. Power fluctuation. Could be storm damage or... They have found me, Nyara interrupted, its mental voice tinged with something new, urgency. Who has found you? Elise demanded. Those who see water only as resource, never as memory. They followed my trail across the void. The station's alarms began to wail. From the small window, Elise could see new storm clouds gathering with unnatural speed, swirling around a central point above the facility. That's not a natural formation, Rivera whispered. No, Nyara agreed. It is a vessel. Larger than mine. Less sympathetic. Why are they after you? Elise asked, turning to face the alien directly. Nyara's form rippled, the shimmering membrane fluctuating with emotion. I am what your kind might call a dissident. I believe in connection rather than consumption. In mutual growth rather than extraction. You're a revolutionary, Elise translated. A preservationist. My kind has forgotten the old ways. They take without communion, use without reverence. The storm intensified, lightning striking the ground around the station with increasing frequency. Each flash illuminated shapes within the clouds, angular, metallic structures that defied the natural formations surrounding them. They're going to think we're under attack, Elise realized. Valdez will initiate defense protocols. As if summoned by her words, the station's PA system crackled to life. All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, all personnel to emergency stations. Rivera grabbed her sample case. I need to secure the lab specimens. Go, Elise told her. I'll figure something out. After the biologist left, Elise turned to Nyara. Can you communicate with them? Explain that we're not involved in whatever conflict you're having. They do not communicate as I do with you. They demand. Extract. If they knew of our connection, they would see it as contamination. Outside, the unnatural storm had centered directly over the station. The air felt charged, heavy with potential energy. Water droplets began to float upward from puddles, defying gravity. What are they doing? Elise asked, watching the phenomenon through her window. Gathering resources. Water contains information. By collecting it, they learn about this world. About you. And what will they do with that information? Nyara's silver eyes met hers. What powerful beings always do when discovering something weaker, evaluate its usefulness. The station shuddered as something struck the outer perimeter. Alarms changed tone, indicating breach protocols were now active. We need to leave, Elise said suddenly. Both of us. Your ship, is it still functional? Yes. But it cannot outrun them. It doesn't need to. Elise moved to her terminal, forcing an emergency restart. It just needs to carry a message. As the system rebooted, she accessed the station's meteorological controls, the systems used to guide the terraforming process. With quick commands, she redirected power from the auxiliary generators. The terraforming equipment can create localized atmospheric disruptions, she explained as she worked. If I amplify the output and focus it directly on their position. You would use water against them, Nyara observed. Fitting. Not against them, around them. A barrier of electromagnetic interference. Elise finished her calculations and looked up. But I need your help to make it work. Your understanding of water at the molecular level. For the first time, Nyara initiated physical contact, placing a shimmering hand over Elise's on the terminal. The sensation was electric, like plunging into a cool stream on a hot day. Together, then, the alien said. A new pattern emerges. Outside, the rain began to fall differently, no longer in chaotic drops but in spiraling columns that rose and fell in coordinated movements. The water responded to their combined intention, carrying electromagnetic pulses from the terraforming array in precisely calculated patterns. The unnatural storm above them churned in response, lightning flashing in erratic bursts as the alien vessel struggled against the interference. Slowly, reluctantly, it began to retreat, rising higher into the atmosphere. They will return, Nyara warned. With greater numbers. Then we need to be ready, Elise said, a plan forming in her mind. Not just us, humanity needs to understand what's coming. What's really out there? She glanced at the alien beside her, this being who had followed sorrow across the stars and found connection instead. You asked if the sky was crying for me, she said quietly. Maybe it was. But not from sadness, sometimes tears can be messengers, carrying warnings or promises or truths we need to hear. Nyara's form rippled with understanding. On my world, we say that water never truly falls, it always returns, taking new shapes but keeping old memories. Outside, the rain continued to fall, each drop a conversation between worlds, each ripple a possibility not yet realized. And within the station, something new had begun, an alliance that would change the course of two civilizations, woven together by the simplest and most profound element of all. Let me know if you would like me to make any adjustments to the story or if you'd like me to create additional parts.